Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today, not as an expert, not as a politician, but as a 16-year-old girl living in Hackney, a place where the laughter of children is often drowned by the sounds of sirens, where dreams are stifled by fear, and where youth, my peers, are more familiar with the cold metal of knives than the warm embrace of hope. I'm not here to lecture you or to present graphs and statistics. I'm here to tell you what it's like to walk down my street every day, to see the places where friends have been hurt, to feel the eyes of a community burdened by fear. You know, they say growing up is about learning, exploring, making mistakes, and finding yourself. But in Hackney, for many of us, growing up is about survival. It's about knowing where not to go, who not to talk to, and how to stay safe. It's about navigating a world that can be hostile, confusing, and unforgiving. And yet Hackney is home. It's often beautiful, friendly. It's where I've schooled, laughed, and cried, and where I've made friends and nearly lost them. It's complex, it's challenging, and it's mine, it's ours. And we can do better. Together, we must do better. In Hackney and in places like it all over the country, young people like me are facing something deeply troubling. It's not just the violence itself, but it's how it's become a part of our everyday lives. Let me tell you something. I've seen children not much younger than myself, casually talking about fights and stabbings as if they were discussing a TV show or a video game. It's not that they don't care, it's that they've seen so much, heard so much, that they don't know how to react anymore. Can you imagine that? Being so exposed to violence that it just becomes normal. What used to shock us, what used to make us stop and think, now just passes by in a blur. It's another headline, another story, another tragedy. And this lack of concern, this numbness, is what's allowing the violence to continue. The ease of being lured into this world is frightening. It's not about being strong or weak. It's about the circumstances, the environment, the influences around us. Friends fall into it, sometimes even family, and they pull others with them. It's a cycle that seems almost impossible to break. We can't just shake our heads and move on. We can't just accept this as the way things are. The youth of Hackney, of everywhere, deserve to feel, to react, to be shocked by violence, because that's the only way we can fight it. We must recognize the dangers, the reality, the human cost, and we must take it personally. Only then can we begin to heal, to grow, and to build a future free from the grip of violence. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with one of my male friends that sent chills down my spine. He looked at me, a shadow in his eyes, and he told me that boys that he's friends with, the ones involved in gangs, they've come to terms with a chilling reality. They doubt they'll live above 21. Can you imagine that? 16, 17, 18-year-old boys thinking that any moment could be their last, living with the weight of a ticking clock, almost as if they have nothing to live for. And then there's the music, the beats, the lyrics, the culture. Drill music, with its raw energy and vivid storytelling, plays a huge part in who engages with what. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong, but it's a reflection, a mirror of what's happening on the streets. It amplifies the violence, the anger, the desperation. It's part of us, but at what cost? I've watched boys I went to school with transform before my eyes. Boys who used to greet me with a smile, ask for relationship advice. Boys who I knew had a good upbringing. Recently, they've been to prisons for stabbing and shootings. And I sat there confused, heartbroken, thinking, what's the real root of the issue here? It's not just about bad choices or mistakes. It's about the failure of all of us to see what's happening, to reach out, to guide, to mentor. It's about how easy it is for a young person to slip through the cracks and lose their way. Hearing about friends who lost friends to violence made me realize just how close it is, not only to me, but to everyone. It's not something happening far away. It's right here, in our schools, in our lives, in our streets. These are not stories of strangers. They're stories of us, our neighbors, our friends, and they are a plea for empathy, for understanding, for change. You know, growing up isn't easy for anyone, but for us, for the youth of Hackney, there's this added layer of unrealistic standards and pressures that we're expected to meet. I see in the eyes of my friends the weight of expectations, the burden of trying to fit in, trying to be something, to achieve something. Sometimes it's not even clear what that something is. We're just told to reach for it, no matter what the cost. And sometimes, in that confusion, in that pressure, we make bad decisions. It's not an excuse, it's a reality that leads some of us down a path we never intended to walk. I knew someone who tried hard, really hard, to get away from that lifestyle. He wanted a fresh start, a chance to be someone different, but he realized it was harder than he thought. He tried, he stumbled, he fell, and he landed back to square one. But you know what? It doesn't mean he failed. It means he fought. It means that no matter how deep he fell into it, there was still a part of him willing to let that side of him go. But he found himself unsuccessful. That's what we're up against. A world that doesn't always make it easy to change, to grow, to escape. A world that sometimes feels stacked against us. But it doesn't have to be that way. Change is hard, yes. Leaving behind old habits, old friends, old ways of thinking. It's a struggle, but it's not impossible. It takes understanding, compassion, guidance. It takes all of us working together, believing in each other to make it happen. We must see beyond the surface, beyond the mistakes, beyond the pressures, and recognize the potential, the dreams, the humanity in each and every one of us. Now, standing here, sharing my thoughts, my fears, my hopes, it's not enough to just talk. We need action, real, tangible action that changes lives. It's time we all take a hard look at what we can do to make a difference. We need to change the culture and the mindset that surrounds us. It's not about pointing fingers or placing blame. It's about empowering, inspiring, and guiding our youth towards a brighter future. We need to raise the expectation of education. And I don't just mean grades and exams. I mean expectations in ourselves, in our potential, in our ability to achieve greatness. Schools must be places of opportunity, not just institutions of learning. They must be havens of growth, creativity, and self-discovery. Parents, educators, youth, we must all take accountability. It's easy to say, it's someone else's problem, it's someone else's responsibility. But the truth is, it's all of our responsibility. We must stand up, reach out, and be the change we wish to see in the world. I want you to think about the faces behind the stories I've shared today. Think about the dreams, the laughter, the potential. Think about what we can achieve together if we believe in each other, if we work together, if we fight together. Let's not allow another child to be lost to the streets. Let's not allow another dream to be stifled by fear. Let's not accept that this is just the way things are. It's time to change. It's time to act. It's time to build a world where every child, every young person, every one of us has the chance to thrive, to succeed, to be who we are meant to be. I believe with every fibre of my being that a better future is possible. A future where the laughter of children rings louder than the sirens, where dreams blossom without fear, and where the warm embrace of hope replaces the cold metal of knives. But we can't build this future alone. It's a collective responsibility, a shared journey, a path we must walk together, hand in hand.